Solosaurus, playing for the soul. Victory points, yeah, that's the goal.
I'd like you to think about a board game that had a really good narrative component to it. Now, not necessarily a board game such as, say, ISS Vanguard or uh, Elder Scrolls or something like that that has a purpose built narrative around it. It could be anything. It could be a game like, say, A Gentle Rain, which is not a narrative storytelling game, but you know what I'm talking about. When it comes to playing board games, you probably play a narrative in your head as you play the game. And if that's the case, think about the one that was the most impactful to you, say Sleeping Gods or something like that. It doesn't matter what the game is. Now, I'd like you to consider how much of that game was narrative and how much of that game was a game. How much did it engage you from a narrative standpoint and from a gameplay standpoint? Was it half and half? Was it more narrative than game? Was it more game than narrative? And when I say game, I mean, of course, game features such as rolling dice, playing cards, things like that. Now, once you've got that sight in your head, then that's the framework that I want you to have as you consider the Dark Quarter. This is a cooperative game. This is the base game here. This is the Lost to the Night expansion, and this is the Yesterday's Demon expansion. Obviously, you could read, it's right there. And then we have the plastic token upgrade and the experience coin upgrade as well. So I'm going to talk about all of these things, but given the game itself, I think that was an important way to establish this narrative because I think that the game itself is extremely strong from a narrative standpoint. From a gameplay standpoint, it's going to be a little bit different. I'll get into why, but I just want you to keep that in mind. So if you love narrative games, you're probably going to be leaning towards this, I think. If you don't, if you prefer more gameplay, I should say, you're probably going to maybe not be sure about this one, but I will get into why. I think there's a really good balance here. Without going into great detail at this moment, which I will later, I think the game itself is pretty strong, and I think that you're going to get a lot of good mileage out of it. The Dark Quarter is a cooperative game for 1, 2, 4 players. But honestly, I think it's a much stronger game when it comes to solo play. It's important that you know as a solo player that any cooperative game can probably be played solo unless it's something where you cooperate at first and then there's some kind of traitor mechanism involved in there or there's some kind of hidden information mechanism in there. That of course is going to make it a lot less easy to play it solo, but it can still be done. I mean, I grew up playing board games that were multiplayer conflict versus, and I played them multi-handed. I just played them each side the best as I could, and that's essentially how I started my solo career. In the case of the Dark Quarter, 1 to 4 players is great, but I really think this is a better solo experience, and I'll tell you why when we get into the review. But it's a much better solo game than it is a cooperative game, I think. So that said, you've seen what I have here. You can see some of the boards, you can see some of the cards, you can see some of the dice. I'm going to go into a little more detail about the actual components, and then we'll get into how the game plays, and then we're going to go into even more information. So stick with me. Thank you for joining me for this initial review video for Solosaurus. Let's talk components. Let's talk first about what comes with the entire whole damn agency pledge. Of course, you have the base game right here that you can see. There's also this miniatures expansion, which is hiding behind my dice tower. Sorry about that. And there's our little Solosaurus mascot. Then we have the Lost to the Night expansion and the Yesterday's Demon expansion, and also 2 player component upgrades, the plastic tokens pack and a experience coins pack. And there's also a little notebook, but it's not very significant, and I don't use it at all, so I'm not messing with it. It's basically just a small pamphlet, well, not pamphlet size, but maybe 5 inches tall by 3 inches wide book that's kind of thematic in a way for you to, that's meant for you to record your notes to the game within. But let's look at the components in the core game. I'm going to talk a little bit about the expansion, the expansion coins and the token upgrade as well, and let you know what I think of that. First, we're going to look at the boards here. So this is just the player area, and you can see how much space this takes. This is just me doing a setup. We have the player boards, we have player cards. There's little markers here for their attributes. There's skill cards as well that you can play. There's effort dice. There's all kinds of cool stuff here. And the artwork on them is pretty fantastic. If you look at these pretty closely, you can see there's quite a bit here. These are the actual upgraded tokens. These are the experience coins. Then these are the upgraded plastic tokens. And I really don't know that these are really awesome. I mean, speaking as somebody who loves all-in pledges and loves getting super upgraded components and such, these are just plastic. I mean, they're plastic, they're fine, but compared to cardboard, I don't know that they're all that better. A little ASMR going on there, but maybe I could put it up to my microphone. You can hear it better. But these are not bad. I mean, I like them. They're fine, but I just don't think that they're premium. And these are actually two different things. These are markers for the board for the map. These are markers for points of interest within the map. This is a final boss kind of a location marker here. So I'll get more into that later. These are experience coins. You have ones that are worth 1, and then these, I believe, are worth 5. I think they're supposed to be worth 3, perhaps. I don't know. I've been using them as 5s because it's really a group effort how experience works. Again, I'll get into that. The player boards are awesome. I love the characters in this game. I'll get into that again here momentarily. But the character boards are very well designed. I think we have John Robichaux there. We have Julia Paris here, Winter Mullins here, and Constance Moreau. Now, these are the 4 that come with the base game, and it's my understanding there are different characters that appear in these other expansions. I believe I should have looked at this first before I started recording, but I believe that the Lost to the Night expansion is a separate, is a prequel of sorts, and I believe there are 4 different characters there. And the Yesterday's Demon, I believe, is a prequel as well, but it's with these 4 characters, I think. I don't know. I need to get into those and do a review of those as well if you're interested. Let me explain a little bit more about some of these components that I'm particularly impressed with. First off are the dice. These are main dice that come with each character. As you can see, they are themed to them, and you can see there's just a slightly bit of a different design for each of these. I love that aspect of it. You have the main dice here, and you have effort dice here. Now they're over here because I've expended them. I'm actually in the middle of a playthrough at the moment and just set them aside here. But these are all thematic as well. I can compare these from John Robichaux to Constance Moreau, and you can see, pardon the dust, sorry about that. Yeah, the details are pretty amazing that they're all different. They didn't just throw in similar dice throughout the whole thing. I'll talk about how this all works in the gameplay, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a view. Even the skill cards that each character has are different themes. That it's just really an awesome design overall. I wanted to show you the other parts to the game. This is the map of New Orleans, however you would like to pronounce it, which is pretty nice mounted board. This area here specifically, or there I should say, is the French Quarter. All of these are the location pins that you saw, and I should mention, let me bring these up here. So these are the actual cardboard side of things. So they're not that bad. I actually, it depends on if you like the theme better. I mean, these darker sides represent an area that's not visited, though I would say that this blends in a little too well with the board. But when you flip it over, that means it's been visited. You can still go back to it if you want to in the game. And that is, of course, as you can see up there as well, this is the visited state. So they're not bad token components at all. I think they're okay for the job that they do. The upgraded, though, again, I'm just not wowed by it. It's just not all that impressive. The other part that I told you about too is that notebook, which is right here. This is just a small, as I said, document, and it's from backers of the project. I mean, I did back it technically. The art in it is pretty impressive, though. I like the drawings. I think they're pretty nice. So and I guess this is for taking notes in if you want, but I almost hate to write in it because it's so nice. It's pretty nice. I mean, it's paper. It's not exactly super stationary or anything like that. But overall, the content, again, it's good for the base game. I think if you just went for the base game and didn't get the upgraded components, you would be absolutely fine. Now, each one of these points on the board is represented by a location card, which is what these are. And apologies if these are spoiling anything for you, but it's not going to. Trust me, I'm kind of late in the game here, so you're not going to be able to. Well, I am late in the game. I'm not kind of late, so you're not going to be able to figure anything out here. I think if you're like me, you forget about what you're watching 5 minutes after you saw it anyway. So the location cards flip over once they are revealed, and you can interact with certain points in on the board. So you have, first of all, you have points of interest. You also have characters. You can see this guy right here. He is a police chief, I believe, and he's got a number on his back. So the app that drives the game, yes, there is an app that drives the game. I'll get into that more because that deserves its own section essentially, is pretty good about showing the story off, and it's also really good with the characters. The minis that you see here this mini particular comes from the expansion of the minis expansion, I should say. Otherwise, you're going to have a whole slew of NPCs. Now, let's see if I can do this without dropping this. There we go. These are all the tokens that come in the base game that you can use for these NPCs that you can see right there is one. Instead of having the minis, you'd have these. And this one down here is not miscolored. My dogs got a hold of that. So lucky me. Uh, Take that as your own warning when you're playing a game. And I'm sure you're aware of that. But anyway, so the location cards, very colorful, very cool. I like the art on these, but they do at times show a pretty horrific scenes. This one in particular does. That's why I have it flipped over. I want to make sure that this is safe for YouTube and not going to upset anybody. So you definitely have to be a fan of, I don't want to say the horror genre, but you have to be a fan of true crime, I think, at least, because again, you're playing for a detective agency, or you're playing as agents in a detective agency, and you want to investigate these crimes that are going on. There's also paranormal elements. So if that freaks you out, you're probably not going to have a good time with this. Not a lot, but just enough to really maybe make it just on the edge of disturbing. At least for me, I have a tolerance of this kind of stuff, so it doesn't bother me really that much. Your mileage may vary, so just keep that in mind if this is something that you might not want to get into. The third thing I can mention about that, there's a lot of cursing in this game. Not a ton of it, but it does come up. And some other reviewers have said it's all over the place. I don't think it is. Maybe it just blends in. I mean, I've had blue collar jobs before. I've worked as an EMT. I've seen some things and I've heard some things, and maybe it just doesn't affect me as much as it would somebody else who's not used to those things. So that said, it's up to you. Again, I think, again, this is a very dark, gritty world. Alternate 1980s New Orleans. Um, we're talking some true crime stuff too. So there's going to be some naughty words that come up, and if that's something that bothers you, you're probably not going to want to mess with it. So that said, let's get through all of that. That's all been set as a disclaimer. The game itself is pretty fantastic in how it plays out. I will talk about the app and how it drives the story, and I'll talk about the characters a little more in depth as well. As I said in the intro, the game comes with 4 characters. They all have their own unique idiosyncrasies, their own storylines, which makes the game come alive even more, I think. The thing about it is, as a solo player, even the game itself says you should play with at least 2 characters. But it's a co-op game, but everybody kind of goes off and does their own things. This is not a dungeon crawl in that regard, where you're all adventuring through a certain area and investigating the same place. Sometimes you can do that. There's actually a mechanic for assisting other players with dice, which is kind of cool. But as late in the game as I am here, I have not even had that happen or had a desire for that to happen. I like how it flows. At first, I thought, I'm not going to really like this. I don't like that these characters are just going doing their own thing, and yet it works for me as a solo player. Now, playing just two characters, that's only going to say show off the story from their 2 points of view. But if you have three, you'll get more of the story. If you have four, you're going to get the full story. So take that as you will. It's up to you. Now, when it comes to a replayability aspect, it's like reading a good book. You can go through it again if you want later, but the four characters are going to give you the full picture. They all, again, have their own separate storylines. They have their own ghosts, their own demons, figurative demons, I should say. Well, I don't want to spoil anything. There might be more to it than that, but they all have their own demons to wrestle with. We'll say it figuratively because there's some serious themes going on here. Like, for example, Winter Mullins here, one of my favorite characters, actually. He drinks a lot. And you can see the funny thing on this board here. You can see that space where the dice go. Looks like a spot where there's an empty alcohol glass. He actually gets these little power ups when he drinks, but it actually can affect him negatively as well. So I've just kind of avoided that. And that's one thing about the storyline that's really cool is it actually lets you not have to even indulge if you don't want to. It gives you choices that you can make with these characters that says it will make an impact later in the game, and they do. So I don't, again, want to spoil anything. But Winter here, he is the charismatic guy of the group. I will talk about how these attributes work, but he is the main person for speaking really well. Constance is really good at the arcane. Julia Paris, very good at combat. And then Jean Robichaud, ex-cop, he is very good, of course, at investigation. Now let's talk about the board. This is something that actually kind of confused me a little bit. Sorry if the camera's shaking. Again, I'm trying to get used to this cadence and exactly how I can hold it so it won't be weird. These are the attributes that every player, or every character, I should say, has. We have investigation, the green, combat, the red, arcane, the purple, and charisma, the yellow. These are all rated according to where you see these little cubes. And at the game start, you only have three of them. And they move to the left to improve them, or they move to the right to degrade them. Degrading happens sometimes through choice. You can degrade a attribute in order to get an extra die or some other benefit, or maybe something in the game happens where you fail a check, or something really terrible happens to the character, and they end up having a attribute degraded. But you can actually do something about that. So you can improve these. As I said, you get the experience coins, which I showed you earlier. Here's one. John has one available to him right now at this point of the game. And it costs a certain amount to move them up. So here, to move a cube to the left, it costs you 4 coins here, 3 in this space, 2 in this space, which means you can actually add another one. They start, as I said, with 3, but you can add a 4th one to the very end for 2 coins. Very cheap price to add extra chances for success. So how does that work? Whenever in the game puts you into a situation where you have to do a test, like say you're going to fight somebody or you're investigating something, like John does that really, really well, especially now because I've got a 4th one on there. So first you would roll your main dice, which are these 2. Then if you have them available, you would have your effort dice. Every player has 3 of them, and you can choose in the test if you want to use 1, 2, or 3 of them. And of course, if you don't have any, you don't have a choice. You can't use them at all. You have to decide how you want to do that. So it gives you almost a push your luck element to the game to decide how you're going to do that. These tests universally do not say you have to roll X in order to succeed at this. There's a certain number of successes you can get, and that comes from rolling these dice. So let me roll these 2 just to give you an example. That is a 3 and a 1. That is a total of 4. So if I was doing, say, an investigation test, that's 4 points against his investigation, which means I would have 1 success. This took me a minute to realize. It only took me about, 30 seconds or so, but I was confused by it at first. I didn't quite understand what the rule book was trying to tell me, but then once it clicked really well. So this is obviously why you would want to, if you could, roll your effort dice, or even better, use any skill cards that you have to affect the roll, or you can even use any kind of item that you can have, and you can see the word consumable at the top there, meaning you can spend it to do something, but it doesn't always do something. But for example, in a combat situation, that knife would come really in handy. I think Vampire Hand might come in handy for arcane tests. I don't know. I've not really used it yet. Obviously, it's just sitting there. And usually the consumables, once you use them, they go away, which is weird. Say, for example, if you're using a crowbar to open something, it tells you to get rid of the crowbar if it's a success. That doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, back to successes. When the app tells you you're going to do an investigation test, you roll your dice, you count your successes, you go into the app and you tap exactly how many successes you had. And then the app will tell you what happens. So this can be, I don't think I've had more than 4 successes in any one given event, but the 4, that was a great success. 3 is a good success too. 2, 1, you still are succeeding, but you're probably not going to get as good a result as you might hope to get. So that's interesting. So again, roll the dice, you count your totals, and you add them up and see where that falls on this line. Anything, let's say we got a 7, that means everything to the left of it would be a success. So that's 1, 2 successes right there that you would enter into the app. There are other results that appear on these dice. I don't think there's any on the main. Yeah, there we go. There's a star result on there. And there's also a fleur de lis. I think I'm saying that right, which appears on the effort dice. I don't think these appear on the, yeah, no, they do not appear on the main dice. So that's the interesting thing. So the fleur de lis count as a full success, 1 success. So in addition to these, the stars will have a different effect depending on what skills you might have. So for example, let me see if I can find one here. Here we go. So Constance has this touched by magic skill. In all tests, each star adds X to the roll total, where X is the number of stars rolled. So if she, say, rolled, let's just roll all her dice. So maybe we'll get some stars as an example. There we go. We have 3, 5, I'm reading it through my camera, 5, 8, and that's another success right there. That's 8 plus a star. So let's say that was a arcane test. 8 is right here. There we go, right there. So that's 3 successes plus the fleur de lis is a 4. Then if she, say, use that touch by magic skill or card, I should say, that is an extra 1 success right there, just from what, or adds X to the roll total. Sorry, so that's going to be a 9. So I don't think that would make a difference for her, but you get the idea of how that works. It's a really elegant system, and once again, you use, say, all of your effort dice, you put your main back into your pool, you keep your 3 or whatever you rolled aside, and they stay there until the beginning of your next turn, where you can refresh 1 at the start of each turn. Now, folks, I'm going to show you how the app works, and hopefully I get it right this time. I swear, screen recording on an iPhone is not fun because you got to remember to turn on the microphone, and this is probably the 4th time I've tried to do this over the last few days, so hopefully this is a success. First off, 3 obvious things you're seeing here: the Dark Quarter at left, in the middle, Lost to the Night, the expansion, and at right, yesterday's Demon expansion. I have not played either one of those. As I've mentioned, the Dark Quarter is the base game. That's what you're going to get when you buy the base game, obviously. And unless you get the whole damn agency pledge, you're not going to have all these extras. But I'm definitely going to be covering these. I'm interested in learning more about this game because I really, like I said, I've kind of attested to, I like this game. Let's go to the settings really quick here, though. I have the sound and music turned off. So there's very thematic music that plays throughout this app. It's very good music. It's very thematic, but it's loud and I can't talk over it. So it is off right now. If you want to check it out, though, this is free. You can go to the App Store for your phone, download it, just give it a try and see what you think. So skill test confirmation, that is another thing that I could turn off if I want. It's going to ask me to confirm the number of successes that I have. I'm going to go ahead and keep it, just to keep me honest. But the one thing that's really important here is the time pressure. Right now you can see level low, very relaxed. I like that a lot. The game offers you 3 choices here. So this is for pivotal decisions that come up, very important ones for characters for the game. And this determines how much time you have to make the choice. So the first one that I have selected, the low, very relaxed, that's about 60 seconds. That's plenty of time to make a choice. I like this because I need to read, I need to absorb, I need to decide. And usually for me in this game, my choice for the character is obvious. Usually it's very much a code of ethics for that particular character, how that character sees the world, how that character would act in that situation. And you've already created this narrative in your mind about these characters as you go through the story, so you already know how you think you want them to react. And you play them a certain way, just like role playing. It's really nice. The medium, I believe, is 30 seconds, and the high is 10 seconds. And that says the pressure cooker. And boy, is it correct in that regard. This is another thing that I don't think would be cool to do in a cooperative game if you just did 10 seconds and had to pass this around among 4 people or read it out loud. That's the other thing too, because since it's a co-op game, you should share this information so people can help you make choices. But then again, you're opening yourself up to alpha players and blah, blah, blah. I prefer this very relaxed, very, I don't want to say chill experience, but it's a much easier to process at that level. All right, so let's exit out. Let's go to the Dark Quarter. So, of course, it tells you, do you have the physical board game? You need to have it, obviously. Now, I'm not going to hit restart game because that's going to restart my game. I actually have one saved here. The little figure, the little meeple looking figure there at right is a profile setup screen. I'm not going to get into that because I'm not going to change anything. So I'm just going to hit continue. And after a brief loading screen, you're going to see the saved game state as it was when you saved the game last. So when you save the game, you enter information into it. You just tap locations for cubes, tap them again to remove them, add cards, remove cards, add coins, refresh dice, all that stuff. It's saved in here. So when you unpack the game again and put it on your table, here you go. It's all laid out for you. So Robichaux here got all his skills, got his skill cards, have his inventory, his effort dice, he has none, and then 1 experience coin left. And then we'll go through all the rest of these folks. That is Constance Moreau, then Winter Mullins, and finally Julia Harris. Then after she's done, it's going to go into the group inventory, which is here, or team inventory, I should say. So these 3 items are in the team inventory as of right now. And this is the number of experience in the team inventory. Experience, very important to note, when you earn it, it goes into the team inventory. So if John Robichaux, for example, earns an experience coin or 2, it goes into the team inventory. Everybody shares the experience in the inventory. At every intermission mark, each scenario has several of these. You are going to stop, pause, and it gives you a chance to distribute the experience coins, among other things, and then spend them to improve your character's stats. So during a scenario, you can do this. You don't have to wait till the end of the scenario, like you would say at the end of a dungeon crawl, to add your experience up and spend it to level up, that kind of thing. You do it in the middle of the game pretty much, and you do it several times if you have enough experience to do it. Sometimes you'll not want to spend it. You'll just want to save it, which is fine too. The experience also is an interesting mechanic because if you say have 4 players like I do and you have 6 experience coins, you divide it all up among the players, but you add coins until it's an even number. So at that point you have 4 players, 6 experience, each player gets 1, then you have 2 left over. So you give 1 each to 2 players, and then you give 2 more, or 1 each I should say, to the other 2 players. So it evens out. Everybody gets the same amount at the end of intermission. It's a very cool mechanic, and it doesn't overpower the characters at all. It's very, I don't want to say difficult, it's challenging to know when you're going to want to spend your effort dice and try to really knock a test out of the park, as opposed to, well, if I do this now, am I going to be able to do this later, kind of a thing. So first person we have on the board is Constance Moreau. It says, as a reminder, refresh and effort dice. I'm just going to go ahead and show you how this works. So this is the New Orleans board. I can move it around by just touching it and scrolling with my finger. I can zoom out by putting 2 fingers on and pinching and going back out by spreading. my fingers, it's typical smartphone navigation. It's not hard at all. Locations, as you can see, the purple ones are ones that have not been visited yet. The white ones are ones that have been visited. And the Laveau Corp building was the location card to the right of the map board that you saw earlier with the receptionist sitting down, and then LeBlanc's house was the one to the left with the card that I had upside down. I didn't mention some locations, such as this, have multiple location cards. So you would first lay down a house card, for example, like we did here. It's a house. Then when you go inside, which is interacting with one of the points of interest, which happens to be the front door or a window or something, then you can uncover another location card. So that's kind of cool that some of these locations have more than one. Some do not, though. For example, we're going to go to Dixieland Drugstore. I've been here before. I know what it looks like, and I know what we're going to do here. And it asks me to confirm. You can always back out and choose another one if you tapped it accidentally. I'm going to say yes. Flips over the location marker there. I'll click OK. And here we go. Same deal. You can move the map around. You can zoom in and zoom out. But in this particular location, we have two points of interest, I should say, that we can interact with. Now, sometimes when you're going to a new location, it will tell you what card to lay down, like I said, but it also tell you, hey, put this figure here, put this NPC here, put this point of interest marker here, that kind of thing. And so it'll lay it all out for you. So you just one step at a time, set up the card. And then it'll say, here you go, here's your turn. What are you going to do? So I can tap on either one of these. The first we have here is Madame Bordeaux. She's the shop owner. And then over here we have the Great Rasputin. He is like I forget the name of it. It's like this fortune-telling machine from the movie Big. You put a coin in it and it tells you your fortune. I don't think it's that important. It would have been a really cool mini though. And see, here you've got the hexagon counter. This is one of the base counters that comes with the base game. And then, of course, Madame Babette Bordeaux, has a number 8. So you can use her number 8 counter if you wish, or use the mini, which is pictured here, which comes from the mini's expansion. So I'm going to tap on her, click yes, and here we go. We have two options. So sometimes you have different things you can do with these characters. Since she's a shop owner, I can tap shop and buy things from her. And I don't have any money though, so I'm not going to do that. And it's just typical voodoo type of items. Typical, like you see that every day, like at a Walmart or something. I don't mean it like that. I mean, in this game, it's typical. So little odds and ends and knickknacks that will help you in the game. But since she doesn't have any money, it's moot. I want to show you how the questioning works. So I'm going to tap that. And so questioning Madame Bordeaux, you can see at the top here, the charisma icon with the little person figure. That is meaning we need to conduct a charisma test. So I'm going to roll Constance Moreau's dice in case you can't see what I'm doing here. I have 2 main dice and 2 effort dice. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, terrible roll, plus 1. We have a star, which using her touched by magic card means we can add 1 to the die roll. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a 5. Her charisma skill cubes are located on 5, 8, and 10. So I have 1 success. I'm going to tap 1. Now, this is an interesting point to bring up. I do remember seeing a YouTube reviewer, and I don't remember who it was. Even if I did, I wouldn't mention their name. That said, I just didn't even bother with this. I just put all the successes I could in here and hit confirm and played it like that. And they didn't like the mechanic of die rolls to get successes. I think it's good just because it's one of the major gamification elements in this game. Without it, you don't have much of a game, honestly. And besides card play and besides card interaction and the story itself, which gives you some choices, it's really the dice rolls that make the game work. And ignoring that is silly. You might as well, you just essentially have a very expensive novel on your hands in that case. But hey, it's your game. Do with it what you will. Sometimes you might get frustrated. Well, I just rolled a 3. I have 0 successes, but you know what? Oh, look at that. I got 4. It's up to you. Some people would say, oh, that's horrible. How can you do that? I don't. I'm just saying it's your game. Do with it what you will. So we're going to say 1 success. I'm not going to expect much out of this except 1 question that I can answer. And this is where it asks you to confirm Did you really roll that badly? Yes, I did. Yes. So here in the middle of the screen, you can see questions remaining 1. Typically, the number of successes that you have for this kind of check are the number of questions you can ask. So if I had 4 successes, I'd be able to ask 4 questions. I'm not going to do that. I already know how this is going to proceed because I've gone through this a couple of times. As I've said, I've tried to record this a few times. But I'm going to ask about the animus at the bottom. You can see the other questions there on the screen. The shop, of course, I can do that if I want. I can ask about an object, which opens up the camera on the app, or it opens up your camera on your device through the app, and you can scan the QR code on a card that you're wondering about if you don't know what it does. If you just picked it up, maybe she can shed some light on it. You can give that a try. But I'm going to type this last question here, and she says, it's dark magic, dangerous magic. You better have a good reason for asking. So I can coax her, I can intimidate her, or I can drop the subject. There's no indication of what works here. It's really a matter of gut feeling. So some characters react well to coaxing, some react well to intimidating. And by well, I mean positively for your character. You uncover more aspects of the case, you learn new things, you find new points of interests, and sometimes you gain things like refresh a die. And I'm going to do intimidate just because I feel like being mean here. Oh, no, never mind. Okay, so I will not be threatened in my own establishment, Constance. Mind your manners. I know that if I had 2 successes, I would get the same result, but I would be able to refresh an effort dice. So you see, the more successes you have, probably the more spectacular results. That's another cool thing about the game. You could go through a playthrough and have 4 successes here, and sometimes you might have 1, and it's going to be a totally different vibe that's going to happen here. I'll go ahead and hit shop since it's giving me the option just to show you. So I can pay a money card, which is one of the consumables. It's just one money. There's no $10, $20, $30. It's just a money card for a, yeah, I'm just going to not even try to pronounce that first one. I don't even know what it is. I could, ooh, look at that. Take a look at the seal of Abaddon. Let's do that. This is a rare and expensive item, not to mention dangerous. But if you want some supernatural help in your investigation, it will certainly prove its worth. It will cost you double. Are you willing to pay that much? Yes, spend 2 money. I don't have 2 money, so I can't do that. Nope, not worth it. Suit yourself. I don't blame you. Demons are fickle things. So that makes me wonder what the heck is that? I might have to go and buy that. Anyway, I am done here, so I'm going to hit intern. And yes, and we go on to Winter Mullins, and again, it reminds him to refresh an effort dice. Really like that because it would be really easy to forget to do that. So there you go. That is a taste for the app. It's a very narrow view because again, I don't want to do a lot of spoilers here, but there's so much more to it. There's all kinds of cool locations, location cards, points of interest, people you can question, objects you can pick up, things you can interact with. It's just really a nice experience overall, especially for a solo player on the low pressure level, like I showed you. I cannot recommend that enough. If you're into this kind of thing and you're playing it solo, just give yourself a break, unless you're really into that kind of pressure. Anyway, that is the app. It's a really good addition to the game. Hey, it's magic. Rulebook just suddenly appeared. How about that? The rulebook is really well organized. I am impressed with it. It's easy to get into. It's a quick read. Usually, one of my biggest fatigue points with learning any board game is looking at the rule book and going, ugh, I've got to go through all this. I've got to read this. Well, this I was actually really excited to do, and that's something I'm learning to get more and more excited about when it comes to my board games. But this is really good and it's well structured. So you're going to refer to it a few times, and one of the pet peeves I have of board games is going through the game and realizing, oh, I've got a question. Oh, I've read this somewhere. Where the heck did I read it? And not being able to find it. So yeah, this is kind of the one of the major things that I really don't like about board game rule books these days. Some of them are bad, but this is not a bad one. And the funny thing is, I've had this game on my table for a while now, probably 2 months. I've had some things going on. Job search finally landed a great role. Very happy with that. So I've just kept this on my game table, but I've not played it in weeks. And I came back to it after I decided to start this channel up again. I thought this would be a great video for, or a great review video. I'm going to talk about this game. I'm going to put this up. And it took me 5 minutes, maybe 10, to get back into it, to remember what was I supposed to do. Oh yeah, that's easy. The die rolls, the app, like I said, saves everything. So when I came back to it, it was all there. It was already on my table, so it was easy setup, but it really worked well. And that kind of leads me into just the whole flow of the game. It's very natural. It's very, very second nature, almost to a point. And have has as I've been somebody who has been involved in writing these things and also playing these games, I can say I'm just impressed with that. Just if the game pulls you in, it makes you part of the narrative, it makes you part of these characters, and that's really emotional investment that I can enjoy and appreciate. The thing about playing it solo, the developers say you really need to play with at least two characters to make the game impactful. For replayability, I think that's up to you. I, being a solo player, have no problem handling all four of these characters. And sometimes I'm going, wait a second, what was his special? Oh, okay. When it comes to his turn, and I'm going, okay, it's a combat test. Say I have 3 dice I can roll. What cards do I have to help? Okay, what items do I have to help? Well, let's do it. And that's all. There's not a lot of, oh wait, this was, and this ties to, and none of that. It's really easy. You got your skills, you got your skill cards, you've got your consumables. No problem. It's really easy to get into those tests. So overall, would I give this game a stomp of approval? I think I was looking at doing 4 tiers, with the top tier being the stomp of approval. But just from, I can't remember what those tiers are offhand. I'd have to look at my list again. This is all kind of new to me, like I said, and I'm trying to get through and figure out how things are going to work. I, without hesitation, would give the Dark Quarter a stomp of approval. But again, with all the caveats that I've mentioned throughout this review, if you like narrative games, if you like a little bit of a game with your narrative game, there's the die rolling, the card play, that kind of thing. You're gonna, but it's more of a narrative heavy experience. So it's like going through a choose your own adventure book, which is on steroids with interactions. It reminds me actually of the old Be an Interplanetary Spy books. These were books that came out right after Choose Your Own Adventure did in the 80s. And they actually had puzzles in the books that you had to figure out before you could move on through the story. This is kind of the same thing where you're dealing with puzzles, but they're not difficult puzzles. It's not like riddles. I can't stand that kind of thing. Honestly, I don't like I don't like puzzles in games. It's more moral choices. It's kind of your idea of how you want these characters to develop and grow. I really like this game. I would totally give it a stamp of approval. So there is that. And I want to thank you guys for being here for this review, this very first review. Again, I'm trying to find my cadence. I'm trying to find my my way of doing things, and this is not ideal here with this camera angle. I am looking for a good rig setup so I can start doing this. And I'm going to do playthrough videos too, and I have some really big ambitions for that. I have some things that no gamer has done before. I'm going to give that a try, or only a few have done, I should say. I with my partnerships, I am very happy with being able to bring them to your attention as well. If you're interested, please do interact with them. I do not have a affiliate link with these guys in that I'm getting money for purchases. I am not doing that. These guys provide me with a review copy, and that review copy is either going to be given away when I'm done with it, or I'm just going to give it back to the game store to donate. So one of the two. I think the giveaway is what I'm leaning to, but I need to be careful because I don't know about my logistics and how I can handle that. So that's why I say I might just give it back to the game store and let them handle it. But they are very generous in supporting me in this regard, so I want to be generous in supporting them. Please click the link in the description for them. And if you're not subscribed, I would appreciate you subscribing. I promise I'm not going to flood your inbox with videos. I'm going to try to do 2 a month. I might do more if I can. I'm trying to aim low before I move forward with being more productive in this space. So, again, thank you, folks. Please go visit the link in the description for the store and let me know what you think of this game. If you've played it, if you're going to buy it, if you do buy it, and you blame me for it, please do. I appreciate it, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much.
Lights dim, the wooden edges wait. Tiles cold, I'm building out the gate. Meeple moves, a tiny wooden ghost, checking off the paths I need the most. Shuffling the deck, the card back blur. Mind sharp, listening for the engine's purr. Setup done, the table is a map, avoiding every tactical trap. Solosaurus, playing for the soul. Victory points, yeah, that's the goal. Building up the engine, watch it spin. One more turn, let the grind begin. Cards dealt, the Automa is sly. Paper enemy looking in its eye. Tactics change with every resource spent. Analyzing every move and what it meant. Manage the hand, optimize the roll, finding where the victory points flow. Cardboard war in a quiet room, watching all the tiles start to bloom. Solosaurus, playing for the soul. Victory points, yeah, that's the goal. Building up the engine, watch it spin. One more turn, let the grind begin. The engine stops, the room is still. Just me and the points, a digital thrill. Solosaurus, shutting it down.